If you want to see more quick tips for your favorite Clash Royale cards, please subscribe and hit the bell. Let's start the countdown. Number 15. When you go to poison a furnace, if you place it normally, the next wave after the poison goes away will be unharmed and reach your tower. But if you time your poison deployment to where only the second fire spirit gets damaged, the poison will last just long enough to damage the first fire spirit of the next wave, which means that the wave won't hit the tower. Number 14. When facing an enemy that has a mortar or expo deck, you have two poison options. Number 1. If you need to damage the tower in the same lane, have your poison touch the tower and the siege building. And option number 2. If you need to prioritize in killing the smaller defenders near the siege building, use your poison somewhere here. For mortar decks, make sure that if you see them using rascals in the beginning of the game, they may be trying to bait your poison so they can use mortar. For expo decks, since they're known for having a fast cycle, make sure you keep your poison cycled just as fast to counter the expo. Number 13. When deploying a bridge unit such as a hog rider or ram rider, make sure you have your poison either pre-planted or hovered over this tile. This placement anticipates buildings and will start damaging them a bit earlier. Some ranged units, like musketeers, can also be placed within this range too. Number 12. Sometimes the enemy will deploy their units in front of their crown tower, which means that if you try to poison that unit and the tower, the unit will walk out of the poison's range faster and take much less damage. This usually results in that unit surviving and striking the tower. Instead, have your poison be placed here. That way, the unit will be guaranteed to be hit with the poison's full effect without any worries. Number 11. Poison's a perfect hard counter to graveyard, and it's one they can't counter. But beware. Some graveyard decks will include poison bait cards, such as the Goblin Hut, and when they use them in the beginning of the game, you might get baited. Number 10. If you poisoned an enemy unit that came from the back of the arena and they survived it, it's a better idea to have your cheap spell ready at the bridge. They can drop extra troops in front of that unit to take advantage of her still surviving, and your cheap spell is going to be better at killing the unit and damaging the extra units at the bridge. For example, this could be something as little as a ram rider in front of a witch to something as big as a golem in front of a night witch and the hordes of other troops. Luckily, most of the time, the enemy will give up on starting a push with that unit due to how badly they've been damaged, and they'll just let that troop walk to the bridge and die. If the same tower you poisoned is weak in health, then it would be understandable to use your small spell to hit the unit and the tower. You just need to judge the situation. Number 9. Before you poison that building or spawner, have patience. After a few seconds, the enemy will assume you don't have a large spell, so they'll foolishly drop their support in the back. Once that unit gets close to their own building, poison them both for more value. Number 8. Beware of your counters. If you're using the minor poison combo, don't continue to drop prediction poisons if the enemy's counter is something that's not weak to poison. If that unit is a ranged one, have your prediction poison pre-planted in different areas until the enemy switches up their placements. Number 7. Make sure that you've memorized the total amount of crown tower damage that your poison level deals. This is very important information to know when you're trying to finish off towers. Number 6. If the enemy uses an elixir collector and you have miner and poison in your deck, rather than sending your miner to the elixir collector, you can send the miner to the tower with the poison touching the collector. The enemy will almost always instinctively defend their pump with troops, and you get more value. Number 5. When poisoning lone troops coming from the back of the arena, make sure you place your poison here, and it's very important that your timing is perfect. When the unit reaches this tile, drop your poison so that the poison goes into effect the instant the unit touches the edge of the poison. Number 4. Try this strategy. When you poison a troop, they tend to walk out of the poison's radius too quickly and don't die. And usually when they don't die, the enemy will place some kind of larger health unit in front of them to get value on that surviving unit. However, if you use a mini tank at the bridge combined with a tank buster, not only do you keep that unit in the poison all the way for full damage, but any other newer enemy troops will have a harder time attacking the tank buster. It's like a double defensive shield. Number 3. If the enemy has a princess on their side, especially one that they just now placed down, send a miner to the tower instead, and then poison the area where the princess is. The high likely result is that the enemy will drop units to defend that princess, but the princess and those units will be destroyed. Number 2, make sure that you don't poison a spawner if one of your own troops is already in the same lane ready to destroy the swarms. wait until your lane is unguarded, and then poison. That way, you can be safe from another possible wave of spawner swarms, and your correct poison will push the spawner even closer to death. And number 1, if you're using the miner poison combo, your poisoning timing will be important. If you use the poison too early, even by half a second, the enemy will have an idea of where your miner will appear, or will instead use a non-poison vulnerable unit. Instead, time your poison deployment so that right when the miner pops out of the ground, the poison will become visible. You can also delay your poison deployment as shown to increase the chance of baiting out that poison vulnerable troop. In terms of miner location, you can also place your poison early in a completely different location than where your miner will be, fooling the enemy into placing down their heavier units far from the miner. Wait, if you want to see all the quick tips cards I've covered, click this link. Subscribe if you want more Ernie C3 content.